So good afternoon students, hope you all are fine. So today we are going to discuss a topic, a chapter of the book Moment. The chapter name is Happy Prince. Okay, so firstly I just want to give you a brief description of the statue of the Happy Prince as a name, the title. Firstly look at the title of this story. This is a happy, it's a prince. So happy means a person who always remains happy. Prince, he was a person who remains happy when he was alive. When he was alive, so all the time he lived in the palace. He lived in the palace and he was always happy. He did not know what the tears were or what kind of we can say the miseries were. Okay, so he was not knowing about anything. So today, but after the death, his statue was made and it was stood on the high column of the city. It was in the city, high column of the city, and the people, he could see all the people surrounding him. Okay, he could see that the miseries of the people, the ugliness of the people, how the people are suffering, how whatever the miseries of the poor people are there. So he can now see about all of those. As he was happy when he was alive, but now after the death of his, when he was in the form of a statue, now he was very sad. Why he was sad? Okay, what he could see in the city, what kind of miseries were there, he could see. So today we will read out in this chapter. Okay, we'll find out. So the high above the city on a tall column, as I earlier told you that when the Happy Prince died, on a tall column of the city there stood a statue of the Happy Prince. So Happy Prince statue was there. He was gilded all over the thin leaves of fine gold. Okay, he was gilded, he was decorated. The statue of the Happy Prince was decorated with the leaves of gold. Okay, for eyes, and in the two eyes of the Happy Prince, he had two bright sapphires. Okay, two bright sapphires. Sapphires means these are very precious stones. Okay, so these are the very precious stones of blue. So two bright sapphires were there, and a large red ruby glowed on his sword hilt. As we can see that in the sword there is a hilt. So in the hilt there was a red ruby. And what is a ruby? It is also a very fine precious metal. So this was the Happy Prince. It had, what was there in the Happy Prince? There was a ruby, there was sapphires, and there was thin leaves of fine gold. So it was decorated with all these things. So the makers have made it very, very good one. Okay, it was very attractive. So one night there flew over the city a little swallow. A little swallow. Swallow is a word. It's a bird. So there, his friends had gone away to Egypt 6 weeks before, but he had stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. So, but his friends, the friends of swallow. So swallow's friends went to, where they went? They went to Egypt. Where they went? They went to Egypt. And he also wanted to go. As he was left behind alone there, so he decided that he would also go there to join his friends. But he stayed behind. Then he decided to go to Egypt too. So all day long he flew, and at night he arrived at the city. Which city? Where the statue of Happy Prince was there. So he arrived to that city to take some rest, to spend the night in that city. So when he reached the city, he thought, where shall I put up? He said to himself, he talked to himself, and he was thinking that where should he put himself? I hope the town had made preparations. What kind of preparations? He wanted to say that the town had made preparation to welcome me, to stay one night in their city. Then he saw, as he was looking, the space to spend the night there. So then he saw the statue on a tall column. The tall column was there. There was a statue of a happy prince. So he find that statue. So he thought, what he thought? He said to himself that I would put up there. He said that he would put up himself there. He cried. It is a fine position with plenty of fresh air. When he reached there was a fresh air was there. So he find that it's a nice place to stay one night. So he alighted just between the feet of the happy prince, the statue of the happy prince, between the feet, he set up there, I have a golden bathroom. And he was very happy when he looked at the beauty of her, when he looked at the attractiveness of the statue of happy prince. He became very happy, and he thought that it was a kind of golden bedroom, because the statue was fully decorated with the golden leaves. So he said softly to himself, and he looked around, and what he said, I told you that it was a fine gold bedroom. And he prepared to go to sleep. And now he prepared to go to sleep. He wanted to sleep there with the fresh air. He wanted to take rest so that in the next morning, early morning, he could move to Egypt to meet his friends. But just as he was putting his head under his wing, a large drop of water fell on him. When he was just putting his wings under his head, he was ready to sleep. What he found? He found that there was a drop. He feel the drop of water. What a curious thing. He was very curious, means strange. Curious means strange. He thought himself that what a curious thing. Okay, it's a strange thing. There is not a single cloud in the sky. The stars are quite clear and bright, and yet it is raining. So he was very curious that what happened here. No cloud was there in the sky, but then also he could feel that a drop of water is falling on him. What is the use of statue if it cannot keep the rain off? He thought to himself. He said to himself, but what is the use of this bigger statue? This is an attractive statue, but this is of no use, because it could not save me from the rain. I must look for a good chimney pot. So he determined to fly away. As he decided to move away from there, so that he could find place in a chimney pot to spend a night there. But before he had opened his wings to fly, as he wanted to fly, he wanted to go there. But before that, what he found? Another drop, the third drop fell, and he looked up and saw. What did he see? He found up around. He looked there. There was no sky, no cloud in the sky. But he checked that. What he found? What was there? The eyes of happy prince were filled with tears. The eyes of happy prince had tears. The tears were coming down from the eyes of happy prince. His face was so beautiful in the moonlight, as it was decorated. The statue was decorated. The sapphires were there in the eyes. So the face was looking so beautiful in the moonlight. And when the little swallow found the tears coming down from the eyes of that statue, so he felt pity. He filled with pity for the statue. Who are you? He said. He asked to the happy prince, who are you? I'm the happy prince. The happy prince replied that he is the happy prince. So, why are you weeping then? He said, why are you weeping? Asked the swallow, you don't know that you quite drenched me? You wept and that's why the tears come down from your eyes and I got drenched. So, what he said, when I was alive, means the happy prince, now it was a statue, but he talked that when he was alive and had a human heart. What does the meaning human heart mean? It means when he was alive and his heart was bumping, okay, and the heart was alive and it could weep. So answered the statue, I did not know what tears were. He said that as by the name of this chapter we could understand that the happy prince, he said that when I was young, I was alive, then I could not know what the tears were. For I lived in the palace where sorrows is not allowed to enter, where sorrows were not allowed to enter. Okay, because he remains happy throughout his life. He spent his life in happiness. So my countries called me the happy prince. As he become happy, he remains happy always. He remained when he was alive. So his courtiers, they named him the happy prince. So the happy indeed I was, and he said that I was happy always. So I lived and so I died, and now I am dead. Now he said that now he is dead, and after the death, what happened? They set me up here so high that I could see the ugliness and all the misery. After the death, they have stood me here in the high column of the city, on the high space of the city. They put me there in a statue, and I could see that all the misery, all the sorrowness, all the ugliness of his city. And though his heart made of lead, yet I cannot choose but weep. And he thought that as he was fixed with the fasten, he was fixed firmly with the fasten, so he could not move from there. Okay, whether his heart was made up of lead means metal, whether his heart was made of metal, but then also he could only weep, but could not do anything to help to help to end the miseries of the people and the ugliness of the city or the sorrowness of the city. So what is he not so solid gold? Said the swallow to himself. Swallow was thinking. He thought that the whole of the statue was made of the gold, but maybe inside the heart was made of lead. He was too polite to make any personal remarks, but the swallow did not say anything to the happy prince. He did not make any personal remark to the happy prince. Far away, continued the statue in a low musical voice. He said, far away in a little street, there is a poor house. He wanted to describe the ugliness or the sorrowness of the people who are living in the city. So he said that far away in a street there lived there was a poor house. One of the window is open, and through it I can see a woman seated at a table. The happy prince is telling that the woman was sitting at the table. Her face is thin and worn. It was very, we can say the face was very weak, and she was coarse, red hands all pricked by the needle, for she is a seamstress. As the woman was a seamstress, and the statue could see that his hands was all pricked by the needle. Okay, when he was doing the work. She is embroidering flowers on a satin gown for the loveliest of queens maids of honor, to wear for the next court ball. For the function, she was embroidering flowers on the gown of the queen. So in the bed of the room, the statue of Happy Prince was describing the story of that woman, in what kind of situation the woman was there. Okay, so he said that in the near him, corner in the room, her little boy is lying ill. The boy is ill. He had fever and he is demanding oranges, but his mother did not have any money, did not have anything to give him to that child. So his mother had nothing to give but river water. So he is crying. Just she could give only the river water, as she was very poor. So swallow, swallow, little swallow. He requested to the swallow, the Happy Prince, the statue of the Happy Prince requested to the swallow to give him, would you not bring the ruby out of the sword hilt? He said that from my sword hilt, from the hilt of the sword, could you please take the ruby? As we told you that the ruby, it was there in the sword hilt. Or where was the ruby there? It was in the sword hilt. So he requested him to take the ruby from the sword hilt and give it to the ruby to the poor seamstress. So that swallow could give that ruby to the poor seamstress, and with that the seamstress might give anything to eat to the child or for the medicines also. He said that, and he was fixed with the pedestal, so he could not move, he could not go from here. So he requested to do the work for the Happy Prince. Okay, I waited in the Egypt, said the swallow. My friends are flying up and down in the Nile. As Egypt was a country in Africa, so there we had the world's biggest river, Nile. It moved from there. Okay, and talking to the large lotus flowers, soon they will go to sleep. So the swallow said that he is waited in the Egypt by his friends. Okay, so he might not help him. He wanted to say. The prince asked the swallow to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. He again requested the statue of the Happy Prince to the swallow that only one night he could stay there. The boy is so thirsty and the mother so sad. He said that the poor seamstress and her little boy, they both were very sad. The boy was hungry, seamstress was sad with the condition of the house of the child also. So the boy, I don't think I like boys, answered the swallow. The swallow said that I don't think that. So I want to go to Egypt. I don't like the boy. The swallow said that I do not want to, that he did not want to help to any boy, and he wanted to Egypt to meet his friends. But the Happy Prince looked so sad that the little swallow was sorry. He felt pity when he looked again at the statue. In the eyes of statue prince, he again filled with the pity. So he said that it is very cold here, he said, but he agreed to stay with him for one night and be his messenger. So he requested, okay, he would stay with her for one night and be the messenger. Then the Happy Prince thanked the little swallow to be ready to help the poor seamstress. Now the swallow picked out a great ruby from the prince's sword hilt. Swallow picked that one and flew away with it in his beak over the roofs of the town. When he was moving from the roof of the town, and what he could see there, when he was moving, he was going from the statue to the house of the poor seamstress. What he could see that he passed by the cathedral tower. Cathedral tower means church, where the white marble angels were sculptures. Where the white marble angels means the statue of those angels were there near that church. So he passed by the palace. He also passed by the palace and heard the music sound of the dancing. A beautiful girl came out of the balcony and with her lover. What he could find, and he was watching what he was there, that a beautiful girl with her lover, she was there in the balcony. And what she was talking about, I hope my dress will be ready in time of the state ball for the function. She thought that might be that poor seamstress might get she would complete the dress. It would be ready up to the state wall. She said, I have ordered flowers to be embroidered on it, but the seamstress are so lazy. Who was there? That prince, she was not the queen. She was not knowing about the condition of the poor seamstress. She was also lived in the palaces. She was unaware the miseries of the poor people, the miseries of that seamstress. Instead of, she said that the seamstress was lazy. He passed over the river and saw the lantern hanging on the mast of the ships. He could see the lanterns on the ships. At last he came to the poor woman's house and looked in. The boy was tossing feverishly on his bed. Feverishly means he was very restlessly. He was lying there very restlessly as he had high fever. So, and the mother had fallen asleep. She was so tired. Mother was so tired with doing all the work of the household and also with to embroider the flowers on the gown. So she was also fell asleep. He hopped inside the room and laid the great ruby on the table beside the mother's thimble. Where she was lying there, she put the ruby, the swallow put the ruby there. Then he flew gently round the bed. He moved there and fanning the boy's head with his wings. And he fanned the boy's head with the wing. How cool I feel, said the boy. I must be getting better. And he sank into a delicious slumber. He thought that he might feel very good. Okay, he is feeling good with the fanning of the swallow. Then the swallow flew back to the happy prince after giving that ruby to the poor seamstress. He came back to the happy prince and told him what he had done. He told everything, that what he saw between and how he helped that lady. It is curious, he remarked, but I feel quite warm now, although it is so cold. Why he was feeling warm? He said that whether it was cold outside, but then also I feel warm. Why the swallow was feeling warm? Because the swallow had done a good deed. He had helped that poor seamstress, so that's why he was feeling warmness. That is because you have done a good action, said the prince. The prince said that you have done a good action. That's why you are feeling the warmness in the heart. And the little swallow began to think and then fall asleep. Thinking always made him sleepy. Okay, so the little swallow, he slept there. When day broke the next morning, he flew down to the river and had a bath. Tonight I go to Egypt, said the swallow. And he was high spirited at the prospect. He wanted to move that day. He said to the happy prince that tonight I would move from here and would go to meet my friends. He visited all the monuments and sat a long time on top of the church steeple. He also sat long time on the church steeple so that he could see the city, entire city. When the moon rose, he flew back to the happy prince. It means when the moon, in the evening time, he came back to the happy prince. Have you any commission for Egypt? He cried. I am just starting. He said that I'm just going to the Egypt to meet my friends. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, will you stay with me one night longer? The happy prince again requested to the swallow to stay with him for one more night. Again, the swallow said that he could not stay here because he was waited by his friends in Egypt. Swallow, swallow, little swallow, said the prince, far away across the city, I see a young man in the garret. Garret means a dark room near the roof. He could see that a young man was sitting there. He is leaning over a bunch of withered violets, and his hair is brown and crisp. He said that his hair are curly, the hairs are brown, and his lips are red as a pomegranate. That's a fruit. And he has a large and dreamy eyes. He had dream. The happy prince said that I could see that he could see from there that there are dreams in his eyes. Means to say that he might be determined to do anything in the life. He's trying to finish a play for the director of the theater, but he is too cold to write anymore. But due to the cold, he is not able to write anything. So there is no fire in the grate. Grate means a fireplace. And hunger has made him faint, and he is also going to faint due to the hunger. Again the misery. He could see the misery. What he wanted now, the happy prince wanted from the swallow, that the swallow again helped the happy prince to help that poor young boy. I will wait for one night longer, said the swallow, who really had a good heart. Swallow also had a good heart. He said, okay, I will wait for one more night. He asked if he should take another ruby to the young playwright. He said that he should give another ruby. He did not have another ruby because there was only one ruby in the sword hilt, and that was given to the poor seamstress. So he thought that what he could give now. Swallow said that if he had anything to give, then I might stay here for one more night. Alas, I have no ruby, said the prince. He said that I don't have ruby now. My eyes are all that I have left. What are there in the eyes of happy prince? There were two bright sapphires. Okay, so my eyes are left. So they are made of rare sapphires. Rare sapphires, they are brought out of India 1,000 years ago. Those were the very bright sapphires, very precious sapphires were there, was brought to India 1,000 years ago. He ordered the swallow to pluck out one of them and take it to the playwright. So he thought that he must give one. He plucked from the eyes and gave it to that poor playwright. So what he wanted, he gave this one to a poor playwright. Okay, so here he will sell it to the jewelers and buy firewood and finish his play. He said that. So what he did, he again plucked the sapphire and gave it to the playwright. Okay, so today we'll read up to here only, and in the next video we'll discuss whatever the pending part of the chapter is there. We'll discuss in the next video. Okay, thank you so much.